Good morning. I'm Steve Hoffert.
And I'm Fred Emmett.
And we're the Food Pharmacist. Today, after the Super Bowl, I'm sure everybody consumed a little bit of sugary foods. And so today we'd like to talk a little bit about sugar. What is sugar and what does sugar do in your body, especially in terms of effects on insulin, overall inflammation, weight gain, and maybe a few things, if we have time, that can maybe help you drop a few pounds. So just basically in general, Fred, tell me a little bit about sugar and insulin.
Well, when your body receives sugar in your diet, your body's response to it is to release insulin. There's one sugar that does not affect insulin release. It's called fructose. And we thought that was like the latest and greatest for treating insulin resistance, and it turns out to be the worst one. So the three basic sugars that we see are a simple sugar called glucose, and there's a simple sugar called fructose. And when you put them together, they're called table sugar or sucrose. So those are the three that we're going to talk about. Glucose is what your body responds to and releases insulin. We got that down. Insulin equals inflammation and weight gain. And if you feed people a diet of glucose, fructose, or sucrose, they all gain weight.
So if I get that right, but like you hear all the stuff, the negative connotations, high fructose corn syrup, it's the worst thing in the world, get it off the market, we're poisoning kids, we're poisoning adults, but you're trying to tell me sugar's really sugar when you get down to it?
Sugar is sugar. Interestingly, on a food label, our FDA does not consider fructose a sugar. So many diabetic products are labeled sugar-free, but technically it's true because it doesn't affect insulin release. So for the diabetic, you might think, well, that's the way to go, when in fact it goes through the liver and raises triglyceride levels, promotes gout, and causes weight gain. So your body treats it like a fat rather than a sugar. So it's more than just the insulin picture that causes the problems with sugars.
Well, that's very interesting. And one thing I found interesting too, high fructose corn syrup does get demonized nowadays. And one thing in an article I was reading about talking about the difference between like high fructose corn syrup and table sugar, where your high fructose corn syrup is about 55% fructose and 45% glucose. Table sugar is about 50-50 or 45-50. So, they both have fructose in them, so they both have that effect. It's really more consumption. And that kind of leads into, if we eat spoonsful of sugar, it's one effect, but if we eat, for instance, an apple or something like that, a fruit that's got sugar in it, it's a little bit differently. Fred, tell me a little bit about how that effect has an
Well,
difference.
the fiber in an apple slows down the absorption of fructose. And so your body can handle it slower, kind of like putting things down your garbage disposal. If you put a little handful of food residues, no problem, but if you take your garbage can and try to shove it all down there at one time, man, you're going to clog it up and have plumbing problems. So it has to do with how fast your body can assimilate or metabolize that sugar. And I use that word, quote unquote, sugar, because food labels do not consider fructose a sugar. So you can add fructose to foods to sweeten them up, but they are technically sugar-free, and you want to be really careful and don't be fooled by that. It's more detrimental to drink your fructose. So fruit juices and sports drinks that are fortified and sweetened with fructose makes them sweet and can promote fatty liver, weight gain, and gout.
Now, wait a minute. Now, you're trying to tell me, I've been told always, drink a big glass of orange juice for breakfast. You're trying to tell me drinking a big glass of orange juice is as bad as maybe drinking like a Coke or Pepsi or a Mountain Dew or something like that?
No, but no difference. Once you peel the label off of it and you break down the molecules, it's probably worse for you because you think you're doing something healthy. When you drink a Coke, it's probably not the healthiest thing. But you drink a glass of orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, you think you're doing something healthy, and you're really not. That's the problem.
And that's because you get it just the same way a Coke does. If you drink orange juice, it's liquid sugar. It's rapidly absorbed. Blood sugars go up. Insulin goes up. Inflammation starts, and you've heard from us before what the effect of all this is.
And with the height of the flu season, when your body has that high amount of sugar and or with or without insulin, it suppresses your immune system for several hours. So if the flu bug's floating around, and you just consumed a big glass of orange juice thinking that you're being healthy to fight off the flu, you just kind of handcuffed your immune system and set yourself up for getting that bug. So what do we do? Can we do about that? The gold standard for treating insulin resistance is metformin and exercise. And the reason for that is your body handles insulin through a receptor, what I term a door. But there's an alternate pathway, just like in your house, if you want to enter it, you can come in through a window. And this window is really considered the GLUT4 system, or the AMPK modulated. And those are just fancy words for windows or insulin receptors, and doors, or this GLUT4 system, or the alternate pathway. And there's exercise sensitizes both the receptor side and the cell side of it. And so the gold standard is metformin. It's a prescription drug trademarked under the brand name Glucophage for years. It's what I consider the closest thing we have to exercise in a pill. However, there's some over-the-counter products that do virtually the same thing. And one of them is, you probably have heard about it through the Dr. Oz show, or read about it in a magazine showing, fat people turn into trim and healthy people. It's Garcinia gambosia. It works in this GLUT4 system to help your body use insulin better through this alternate pathway if you've knocked it out through high insulin meals.
So basically what you're trying to say is if you have high blood sugars and they can't get from the blood sugar into your cells, we basically create a backdoor method for it to sneak in the back door so your body still can utilize the blood sugar, and we get the blood sugar out of the blood and basically reduce blood sugars that way.
Right, and it promotes weight loss.
Very good.
Can you think of any other products that do the same thing?
Probably another product we recommend a lot is a product called berberine. Berberine has a lot of unique properties. One, in terms of head-to-head studies, as a matter of fact, we talked about with metformin is, a lot of the key factors with metformin we look at is like waist circumference, blood pressure, fasting blood sugars, and cholesterol. If we look at a head-to-head study, actually was done with berberine and metformin, they pretty much head-to-head were equal, and there's really some benefits to berberine that metformin doesn't have, and that's the effects on the gastrointestinal tract as far as being an anti-inflammatory by knocking out bad bacteria. It's an antifungal. It's also anti-protozoal. And as we talked about before in some of our things, fixing the gut health is a big aspect of controlling blood sugars too, because the inflammation that's involved there. So I would say berberine. Chromium is another one. That would maximize the front door system or the insulin system to make it work right. Magnesium's another. Vitamin D, I heard a study this week, as a matter of fact, if you go to countries that are more on the equator where they get more sun, typically those patients on average weigh less than patients who live higher off the equator, just because of natural, and if you look at it, it's actually closely related to vitamin D levels. So those are just some other things.
All righty. Well, so to summarize, not all sugar is the same to your body. That fructose really is the most juvenile of the delinquents, the most delinquent of the juveniles, and that there's products that can mimic exercise, such as metformin, which is a prescription drug, berberine-based products like our CM Core, Garcinia gambosia, and chromium. And that we know that vitamin D and magnesium support that system. So
very good.
There you have it.
Well, like you said, so if you ate too much of the Super Bowl, especially the sweets, I typically hear the day after the Super Bowl, other than New Year's Day, is the most common day for people to say, okay, it's time to start doing something different. So we gave you a few tips to kind of get you going to see if that'll work. And along the way, if you have any questions, you can always contact me at steveh@magnoliapharmacy.com.
And I'm Fred E. at magnoliapharmacy.com.
And like you said, keep your questions coming. If there's a topic you would like us to discuss, we'd love to get your input on that. We appreciate your time, and we hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.